You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rossetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
Okay, I'm here. Everybody's hopping on. Good. Okay, say hi to me. Make sure, tell me please that you can hear me. Okay. I would love to know if you could hear me. That'd be great. And let me see. Good. All right. The meeting that I have, I right before this meeting is always the phone support meeting. We always meet with the manager of our phone, the people that answer our phones. But so it's always we go right until 12, right until 1 o'clock, and then I hop on here. So I apologize, but so I'm just running a minute or two late. But thanks for hanging in there. Just let everybody know, just hang in there, and I promise I'll hop on. We have an amazing phone support team, and they just don't do so good at answering the phones, and we just have it's really, and the phone support team is the most important part of the company, really, because they're the ones that are answering the phones and converting your leads. But it's not just lead conversion, it's also bad debt. So we split our debt up into days 1 through 29 and then 30 plus. And then we have these processes internally that you try to say, okay, if they're under 30 days late, what's the process? If they're over 30 days late. And then also we look at things how many inbound calls do we have and how many outbound calls do we have? And then from the inbound or the outbound calls, how many of those are sales calls? How many of those are customer support calls? And then how many of those are payment calls, right? Which we either separate into past due payments or bad debt payments. So it's a whole process. Now, obviously, when you're starting out and you're learning how to invest in self-storage, you're the person answering the phones, right? Or your call center's answering the phones, or the person that you hire is answering the phones, but the thing is what I'm telling you, the processes that we do internally, we have one person that really does all the phone sales, 2 people that do customer support, and 1 person that does bad debt. And, those, we used to have just 1 person that did that. So in the beginning, it was me. When we first started out, I was the person that did everything. And then we added Bonnie. She's been working with us for 8 years now. And then after we sold one of our businesses, and my husband came over and started managing the storage stuff. So he was also answering the phones. And then, and then we after about maybe 800 units, we had 800 doors. Bonnie was I can't answer the phones anymore. It's too much. I need help. And so that's when we started hiring other phone support people, which was Steph. And Steph has been with us now for quite a while. And now Steph manages all of the 4 people that answer the phones. And so we meet with Steph on a regular basis, and she's really the one that kind of coaches and teaches. We talk to her, and then she talks to the phone support people. And we're really internally, we're trying to be really good on the phones, but then also we're also trying to we look at how many phone calls are we getting, inbound calls are we getting, versus how many people are going directly to the website and then just converting through going to the website. All right. And we really want more people to go to the website, because that means less phone calls. But, but see, that whole process of like people going to the website and like reserving online, that's a very new process. It only really started in like 2020 when, when COVID happened. And then people were like, oh, I need to like be able to do this online. Now we've been completely passive and completely virtual and automated since day one of owning the very first storage facility we had. But we really did like we did not push people to go online to reserve. And that really wasn't something that was pushed up until 2020. And so like now from 2020 to now, we've been really trying hard to get people to do more like automated reservations because otherwise you have to have so many phone people. We have like, I think 2,000 to 2,500 tenants. We have a lot of tenants. And in the grand scheme of things, 2,500 tenants is really not a lot compared to all the bigger players. But for us, like a little mom and pop, owners that just like, started from scratch, 2,500 tenants is a lot of tenants. And it's just like, it's a lot, so you just have to really internally, we have to work on phone people and being really good on the phones, being really good at, our auction processes and being on top of the auction processes. And then also, how does the flow online of our online reservations work? And that's a lot of management stuff. But the thing is, the truth is that when you think of owning a storage facility, these are the things that you do not think of. Okay. And I mean, I can tell you because I have students, I talk to people all the time, and everybody's always worried about how do I find facilities to buy? How do I know if it's a good deal? And how do I fund this facility? I mean, I can guarantee you, everybody that's listening right now, these are the three things that really kind of come up when you want to get into this industry. But the truth of the matter is if you are not thinking about how you're going to be managing your facility, it's a business and it's not just a property, and if you're not the type of person that's good at running a business, then you are not going to succeed, and it's like, it's just one of those things. And there's only a very small window right now of getting into this industry. This window, it used to be like, 8 years ago, it was a huge window. And I just was like, the world was my oyster. And I got a lot of really, really good deals. But that window is getting smaller and smaller. And I can see it getting smaller and smaller. And the reason why is because there's really not a lot of storage facilities out there in comparison to like housing, residential or multifamily or even land. And there's just not a lot of, opportunity out there. There's only like 55 or 60,000 storage facilities in the country, and, right now, maybe 30 to 40% are owned by, bigger players in the primary market. But then there's also these like secondary players, and this market is getting really, really big and very competitive right now. I know because I'm in that market, and it is not easy to be in a secondary market right now. It's really not easy to own a storage facility and to compete with all of the competition out there. You have to be on top of it. Otherwise, you are going to shoot yourself in the foot. All right. So if you're the type of person that's like, I want to own a facility that's more than $1 million, let's say more than $2 million, like a $2, $3, $4, $5 million facility, then you need to be on top of it. You really need to either understand how to run a business, or you have to have somebody as a partner that can do this for you, because it's a lot of competition out there. It really is. And so what I'm saying is that window of opportunity of you getting into this industry is only growing smaller, because there can only be so much storage in the world. You can't have a plethora of storage because people only need so much. It's not like everybody's gonna just be storing, everything that they own. And, so that's one thing, is that, the buy boxes are getting smaller. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today was that like, and I keep saying this over and over and over. How big is your buy box? So we just had like a couple people join Storage Nerds in the last week or so, a couple of weeks, we had a good amount of people join. And the one thing that I tell them when I'm talking to them, when we decide whether or not they should actually get into Storage Nerds or not, is like, how big is your buy box? Okay. If your buy box is like super small right now, and you're like, oh, I only want to buy a storage facility within my area, that means that your buy box is really small, and you're most likely not going to find anything. Your buy box really has to be like, big right now, because there's just so much competition. There's so many players. I mean, we have many instances, like in the last 6 months, I would say, where we have students like putting offers in on deals, and somebody comes in like, and they're about to get it under contract, and then somebody just swoops in and takes the deal like right from underneath them, and will pay more money for it. So you just have to know that there's a lot of people right now out there looking for storage to buy. A lot. Whether or not they understand how to run it as a business or not, there's a lot of people out there that want to buy storage facilities, and there's not a lot of storage facilities out there to buy. Just think about it. Like if you go on to Crexy right now, right? Just go on to Crexy and then just pull up like how many storage facilities are for sale. I don't know if anybody's at their computer if they can do that right now, but there's not a lot of storage facilities for sale out there. Maybe what, 700? Just in the whole entire country, there's only 700 storage facilities for sale. And there's like tens of thousands of people that are trying to get into this industry and buy a facility. And so, you're playing, and you're playing against somebody like me, and I'm not even a bigger player, right? I mean, 16 facilities is like small. That's a small amount of facilities in this world. And also, we have a whole team, it's called Turnkey Acquisitions. Not Turkey, Turnkey. And Turnkey Acquisitions is part of Storage Nerds. And so we have like 10 virtual assistants, a virtual assistant, right? Which we call acquisition specialists. But these 10 virtual assistants, they're basically like, if you kind of like do this with the United States, okay, that looks like a good United States. Doesn't look too bad. Like we kind of section it off, kind of like this. Here's Texas, and here's this, and then here's like this, and then like this, kind of like this, something like that. Okay, so there's like 10 of them, 10 sections. Every single virtual assistant has its own region. All right, and within that region, they typically have like maybe 4 to 5 different states, around maybe 4,000 to 5,000 storage facilities. Okay, that's kind of how we do it. And each one of these virtual assistants, their job is to call every single one of the storage facilities out, so that are primary and not primary, secondary, and tertiary markets. All right, so we do not call primary market storage facilities. We only call secondary and tertiary. Secondary is going to be a town of like, 150,000 people or less. And a tertiary market is going to be a town of like 25,000 people or less. I teach about this quite often, what those are, so, but, and it's all in the course if you want to buy the course, but, so they like essentially are assigned these areas, these regions, and then their job is to find and build a list of every tertiary and secondary market facility in the country. Now we've already pretty much done that because we've been doing this now for 2 years. So we have this like massive list. We've called 51, last year we called like almost 52,000 people. It's like over 51,000 storage facilities. Now remember, there's only like 60,000 storage facilities in the country. And we called like 50,000 of them, okay? So, so we did call some primary market ones, but we don't ever call like U-Hauls or Cheap Smarts or something like this. But we do call like bigger players, maybe, bigger players that are maybe in like we call these sub-primary markets. So we don't really get into primary, but we will get into like sub-primary markets sometimes. It depends on the student, what the student's looking for, how much the student wants to pay. So anyways, so my point of this whole training session today is talking about, sorry, my armpit itches, but it's talking about like I'm talking about your buy box, all right? And I keep pushing this over and over again that your buy box needs to be really big right now. Just because there is a ridiculous amount of competition out there. That's number one. And then number two is you have to think about who your competition is. I'm your competition. I'm your competition. And not only me, I'm a little tiny player in this whole thing, okay? And, I have 10 virtual assistants that do nothing but call owners of storage facilities every day. They're calling like, 25 to 50 storage facilities. And so you have to compete against that. And all these owners, they're just super tired of getting calls, really. And it's really kind of just a timing thing. But so you have to keep that in mind. So your two options, I've already pulled out kind of two main options on how you can find storage facilities, right? I said you can go to Rexy, right? Or you can call all the owners. Okay, and you can talk to the owners. Now, remember, and I talk about this quite often, these are two different types of buys. Okay, when you're calling an owner directly and talking to an owner, that is a totally different, you're handling it in a totally different way than if you're going online to Crexy and you're putting an offer in, right? Crexy, this is where realtors and brokers and agents list their properties for sale. It's a commercial real estate, website for commercial property, any type of commercial property. But, so you're talking with the realtor and you're working with this person that's in between, this middle person. And so we don't do that. We just go directly to the owner and talk to the owner just to eliminate that middle person. All right. And talk directly to the owner so that we can negotiate, that price, really negotiate a better price with the owner. Now, okay, so now you have like call owners. So remember that we have like my turnkey acquisitions team has called all of these people and we keep track of like every phone call and what we do is we have all these KPIs where, we're keeping track of how many phone calls everybody's doing. And, out of the 10 virtual assistants, we're doing on average, so the goal is 500 calls a month. That's 100 calls a week. It's not even that much, right? They typically do more than that. There may be maybe 600 to 700 calls a month, but the goal is 500 calls a month. Sorry, a month. Okay, just think about that. 500 calls a month is what we're doing. Now, from the 500 calls, it takes 200 calls, right, to actually find an owner that would be interested in getting an offer. 200 calls. Okay, that's a lot of calls. So out of the 500, it takes on average 200. So that means in a month, out of the 500 calls, they're getting 2 owners that are willing to talk to them. Okay, and they've been doing this for 2 years. Okay, now out of the 200 calls, they find one owner. Now remember, when you talk to an owner, right? This is cold calling, and so that's why a lot of people honestly don't do this. All right, it's a lot of work. I'm just laying it out there and letting you know how much work it is. Now, going on to Crexy or going on to LoopNet or going through a broker, you are going to find and pay for facilities at a higher price than if you go directly to an owner. I can tell you hands down, this is 100% true. Rarely ever do we find a property cheaper on Crexy than we would if we went directly to the owner. I don't think I've ever had this experience, and if I have, I can't remember it. And I've done like 250 transactions in the last 10 years. Okay, so going through a broker or going on to Crexy is more expensive. So this is why we choose to go directly to the owner. Okay, now you can go on to Crexy and just put in offers. It doesn't matter what your offer price is. Just put an offer in that meets your parameters. Whether or not the owner accepts that offer, is a different thing, but it's the same concept. Your job is to put offers in. The only way you're ever going to find a facility to buy is if you put an offer in. Now, another thing I was going to bring up too, because I had a coaching call with a student yesterday, and she's in storage nerd, and then she's also turnkey acquisitions. And then on top of that, she also goes out and she puts offers in on properties through wholesalers, right? Is what she does. And one of the things that she talked about with me yesterday was that, you see all these properties being posted out, like on the Facebook groups and stuff like this. You'll see properties, and there's a whole Facebook group just for facilities for sale, and stuff like this. But the truth of the matter is those wholesalers that are they're trying to find a buyer for this facility. They rarely ever get real offers. Rarely ever do they get an offer. Okay, so and I can tell you that this is true because I pitched my deal, my facility last week, and I had like 200 people sign up for my pitch, and we had a good amount of people listen in. I think it was like maybe 50 or 60 or 70 people that showed up to listen to my pitch. And out of that pitch, like 10 people were interested in putting an offer in. That's it, just 10. And then out of those 10, up till now, I've gotten like 2 offers. Okay, so just think about the odds of that. You see all of these properties of all of like the Crexy properties, and you see all of the wholesaling properties that all these wholesalers are trying to do, yet they are struggling to sell facilities because people do not give them offers. And it's a huge missed opportunity. And this is one thing in Storage Nerds I tell my students: make the offer. Who gives a crap what the offer is? Just make the offer. Understand and know how to run deal analysis so that if it's a deal that's within your risk level, your parameters, and then make an offer. How many people here in this year, in 2024, have actually made an offer on a property? And if you haven't, shame on you, because you have the tools to be able to do this. You have the tools. You have Crexy, you have wholesalers, you have my course, you have my deal analyzer. Why not just make offers? I don't understand. I really don't understand this concept. And so I think my point is that we're going to get you to the point where you understand that you have the opportunity to buy a storage facility and you have all the tools that you need. You just have to get out there and do it. All right. Now, the way that I do it is, 500 calls a month, 200 calls of talking to owners, and then getting one owner to actually give me all the details. right? So I can run the deal analysis, okay? And from this, right, just so everybody knows, this is the process internally. This is the process to get a storage facility under contract. Out of when in order for us to find a facility and get it under contract, like the goal is to get a facility under contract, right? You have to make, right, this is make offer, 30 to 50 offers to get one facility under contract. It takes us 30 to 50 offers to get one facility under contract. All right, so now in the grand scheme of things, we have 500 calls in a month, right? You have 200 calls just to get one, to find one owner that will actually entertain your offer. And then it takes 20 to 30 offers for us to get a facility under contract. Like rarely ever have I ever seen like now back pre-COVID, it was way easy. Okay, but now in the last couple of years, this is how it's looking. And these numbers are only going to get more challenging. Right, so your window of opportunity right now to find a facility and get it under contract is getting smaller and smaller. And so I encourage you to understand and know that Crexie is there. Those are owners that want offers. That's what they are. Crexie and LoopNet are owners that want offers. So why not make them offers? It doesn't have, don't worry about the price of whatever they're saying, just make an offer. By law, the broker has to submit the offer to the person, right? So it's just practice. You know, it's practice. And you can think if there's 700 facilities on Crexie right now, right? You have like a huge chance of getting one facility under contract if you can do 30 to 50 of those. So you have to become a machine, right? You have to become like a lean, mean, offer making machine. And the only way that you can do that is if you you learn how to do commercial deal analysis and you have some sort of a deal analyzer that you could just plug numbers in and then it says like yes or no, like just put the offer. My deal analyzer, I'm telling you, it creates the offer letter for you. Like you just put the numbers in from this, right? You put the numbers in from when you get the information from the owner, and then it just creates the offer letter. And so we have become very, very good at making offers, right? And I see in my students this hesitation, right? It's like a fear of like, what if these numbers are correct? Then it's an offer. Who gives a crap if it's not correct? There's no legally bound thing. Now, this is when you're calling owners or with a wholesaler, the same thing. I see all these wholesalers with these facilities under contract, and they have done all this work. They've called the 500 people, they've called and talked to the owner, they ran the deal analysis for you, and they made all these offers to get a facility under contract. They've done all the work for you. So now you get to just run the deal analysis and make an offer. And then chalk it up to I'm just learning how to do this. So my suggestion is to make offers, to every single wholesaling help, even if it's not even where you want it to be, who cares? It's just practice. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to buy it. Now, when you put an offer in on Crexie, right? Obviously, you have to you got to use their contract, right? But then you just have a due diligence time, right? So you just make sure that you get due diligence. The due diligence gives you that time to decide if you want to buy the property or not. It could be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 days, however long that you need it. You know, the more complicated that you make making offers or getting a facility under contract, the less likely you'll be able to, you know, find something to buy. All right, so if, like, for instance, right now we have one student that he's putting a facility under contract for about 2.5 million or something like this. It's a really, really good deal. It's making like $350,000 a year, and he's getting under contract for $2.5 million. So it's a very good deal. But like the process of them going back and forth and getting this thing under contract has just been dragging on and on and on. And they're getting lawyers involved. And then, you know what? I cross my fingers and hope that nobody else swoops in and gives a better offer. Because this is what's happened in the last couple of days, in the last couple of months, is that this process of getting a facility under contract takes so long that somebody else comes in and makes another offer, and then they just decide to go with that one instead because it's more money. All right, so that's what you kind of have to, that's what you have to worry about in, like, when you're doing something like this with Crexie, because that's what realtors do, is they just drag it on and on and on, just waiting to see if they get a better offer, which has happened many times. And so, you know, that's why I really like this process. All right, or going to wholesalers. I mean, we are, like, Turnkey Acquisitions is a wholesaling company. Like, our job is lead generation. We are doing all of this dirty work. And we are presenting the deal to our students. Only our students can buy the deals, but we are presenting the deals to the students. But that's what a wholesaler is. A wholesaler is doing all this work so that you don't have to do it, and then you can just make an offer. All right, so I challenge you to find some if you don't want to do this, find some wholesalers that you can just practice making offers on. All right, or going on to Crexie and just making offers. I mean, you've got, you know, almost 1,000 storage facilities out there right now that you can make offers on. Okay, without having to do this. But this right here, this 500 calls a month or 200, it takes 200 calls to find one owner. And so the way that I teach my students in Storage Nerds is that your first step is you have to build the list of facilities. You cannot make any calls to owners until you have a list of between 200 and 300 owners. Okay, and so you build this list. You manually build the list yourself. You're looking for storage facilities yourself. You're putting it on a list, and then it takes. Remember, my team calls around 25 to 50 owners a day. I say 25 to like maybe 30 owners a day is kind of on average, and that takes a couple hours. You know, it could take as few as just 30 minutes up to like a couple hours if you talk to people on the phone. Okay, so you build the list and then you call the owners. And then what we do internally is we track how much phone time each VA has on a monthly basis. Okay, so like if they're calling 30 owners a day, typically this is taking like 30 minutes, right? That's 30 minutes, right? If nobody answers the phone, right? You're dialing and then you're calling and you're leaving a voicemail, leaving a voicemail, or whatever, right? And then if they do answer the phone, they're typically on the phone with an owner from anywhere to, let's say, 5 to 20 minutes, okay? And on average, out of the 30 calls, I would say maybe 1 or 2 people actually they talk to the owner, right? Okay, so you know that let's just say that you have, like, you know, a half an hour more of talk time in a day, right? So you're at 30 minutes plus you talk to owners. And that's another 30 minutes, right? So plan when you call owners, you have 1 hour to call like 30 people. Okay, and talk to them, and you actually talk to owners. Now, the longer, what we've learned is the longer that you can talk to owners on the phone and actually have a real conversation with them, the more likely they're going to be open to allowing you to get their information from them to give you an offer. Okay, so that you can give them an offer. Okay, so you want to think about talk time. I know it sounds like super technical what I'm talking about, but the truth is that, you got to break this down so that you really understand this process. Because I could just say, oh yeah, go out, build a list and call some owners, right? Which is, what everybody says, but you have to understand that it takes work and effort to find a facility to buy and own and manage and make money off of, right? So just in the very beginning, I want you to plan 1 hour of talk time for 30 calls. Okay, and remember, it takes 200 calls to find one owner that wants to give you the information. Now, I had one student, the first person he called, she was like, yeah, I'll take an offer, but like, that is not normal. I'm gonna tell you, this is totally not normal, but you could be lucky, right? So now you're calling 30 people, but you really have to call 200, right? So that's gonna take and this is 1 hour, right? So then you're gonna have like 6 hours to call 200 people. Say give or take 6 hours, if you said, I did in the beginning when I first started, I would sit for like 4 hours and I would just call and call and call. And every time I sat there for 4 hours, I always had somebody that wanted to get an offer. Always, every single time, I do a half a day. It sucked. That's why I have 10 people doing it now, because I don't want to do it anymore. But I would always find somebody. I would take a half a day and I would sit there and I would just call. I drove for storage. If you follow me, I drive for storage because I'm a big driver. I used to live in an RV for years. And then I would just make a list of every storage facility I found. And then I would either call them when I'm in front of the storage facility, or if I couldn't get a hold of them, I would come back and I would sit for a half a day and I would call. Every time I called for a half a day, I always found somebody. I remember one time I was talking on the phone to one guy and he was and it was the list, and it was kind of 2 or 3 hours into calling. And it was maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was calling and I talked to the owner and he was super nice guy. We had a really good conversation on the phone. He was yeah, I'd be interested in meeting you. He's when can you come up? And I was I was okay, well, I'm in Jasper. I can come up to Blairsville. I can be there in an hour. Would you be interested in meeting in an hour? And he was yeah, come on up. And so I drove up, met the guy, and he ended up putting the facility under contract. And actually had 3 facilities that he wanted to sell. I put them under contract. So I know for a fact, sitting and calling owners, you can this works because I've done it. So so I just want you to know how much time it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. Okay, so now we've got 500 calls. So we got 200 calls. We've got an hour per 30 calls. We got 6 hours of work, right? And then after that, it's okay, now I have to get all the information. I find an owner, right? One owner. And then I have to get all the information needed in order to run deal analysis. Okay. Now the deal analysis it's when to get the information that you need to run deal analysis. It's not the owner's oh yeah, here's all the information. It takes a lot of time and effort just to even get that. It could take anywhere from like a day to a week or a couple of weeks. Okay, so it could take quite a lot of time just to get the information from the owner, because when you're cold calling an owner, it's not like he's sitting around ready to sell. He's just like, yeah, I'll take an offer. And it's like, okay, great. Well, we need like, some numbers from you. Can you give me these numbers? Oh yeah, well, I got to figure all that out. And it's the same thing that happens to me. Like, in order for me to pitch the deal that I pitched last week, it took us, a while to get all that together. In fact, we've known we want to sell that property for a while, but we've been working on it for like 6 months just to get all the numbers and everything ready to pitch that deal. People don't have their P&L and balance sheet and like all their stuff ready to go. They just don't. And the more stuff that you ask from the owner, then the less of the chance that they're actually going to want to work with you, right? So you have to get it down to a science. These are the 6 things that I need from you. These are only numbers. Like, if you can give me these numbers, then if I can come up with an offer that's close to, both of us being happy, I will need to get proof from you on these numbers. You can tell me the numbers right now, but the truth is that if you don't give me the correct numbers right now, then my offer is going to change. So, give me what you think these numbers are, and then I'll, run their analysis and just get you an offer out, right? So if they can give us all the information we need to fill the deal analyzer out, like, we can get that information out within like 48 hours. Like, we tell the owner, as soon as we get all 6 of these things in, within 48 hours to 72 hours, we will get you an offer. All right. And so that's kind of how we work. And, but to get all this information could take 1 day to 1 month. Right. We've had some instances where like it just takes forever, because the owner doesn't have all the information. So he's trying to figure it out. In fact, there have been many, many storage facilities where I bought like the facility and learned that like the number of units that they said they had was totally wrong, right? Because they had no idea at all. And we bought one facility where he said that he had 110 units. And then like once we closed on it and did like the real walkthrough where we could open everything up and stuff, then like we learned that it has 121 units. And it's like 10 units that he didn't even have any idea about, so. That's totally normal. That's very normal. Okay, especially in smaller facilities, like under $1 million. So yeah, so that's kind of how the process is working. Looking for facilities, and then also making offers, which is key. And how long is it going to take you to find a facility and get it under contract? Right, so your goal in stage 1, right, is to get it under contract. So now going through this whole process that you've got to call at least 200 people to get one owner. You have to put, to get one owner to give you the information, and then you need to make 30 to 50 offers, right, in order to get one under contract. And you have to have your talk time at least an hour, right, per 6 hours per 200 calls is basically what it takes. Okay. And that's just one offer. And it takes, remember, 30 to 50 offers to actually get a deal under contract. So the process is quite extensive. And I want to, because a lot of people ask me too, is like, can I do this part-time? I mean, you can do anything part-time, right? You can do anything at any time, right? Are you going to make it a priority or not make it a priority? Whatever you make a priority is what you manifest in your life, right? So now you know how much time and effort it's going to take to find a facility and get it under contract. So if it's part-time, you just know that it's going to take a lot more time in order to do that. Typically, it could take upwards of a year to 18 months sometimes for a part-time person to find a facility and get it under contract. All right, when you're doing it yourself. right? So that's why, and that's one of the main reasons why I started turnkey acquisitions, is that because I saw all my students really struggling with doing all this. And so, I just started a company where they just did all that for you. But you have to know that, just it takes a lot of time and effort. It's a lot of grit, a lot of grit. Okay. All right. And so then also, I just wanted to add here, because we've been talking about it, is the buy box. Okay. This comes down to your buy box. Okay. So if you are in, it's like super big here. Yeah. If you're here, right, and you live right here, and you only want to buy a storage facility in this area, you got a little tiny buy box. All right, there's like 20, 30, 40, facilities in this area. Now, I had one student, she was like adamant. She's like, I only want to have a storage facility within 30 minutes of my house. That's it. So she made a list of 20 facilities within 30 minutes of her house. And then she called them every single week until she finally found one that would sell to her. And it took her about 6 months or so. And she finally got a facility like 30 minutes from her house, and she got it under contract, and she got the owner to sell or finance it. So, you can do that, but you need to the key is you're following up. It took her 6 months for those 20 people, to finally get a hold of them and actually finally find one that would actually talk to her. Okay. All right. So that's what I'm talking about, your buy box, right? So obviously, if your buy box is the entire United States, which is not unreasonable, because it's not difficult to manage a property anywhere in the United States nowadays, right? So remember, I told you, everything is automated and online, right? So your buy box, if it's as big as the United States, you've got way more opportunity than if you just have something that's right next to you. All right. And so remember, the goal is to get something under contract. That is our goal right now, right? So you have to build a list, make calls, make offers, and follow up and be on top of that. And if you only have a little tiny buy box, and also your buy box includes, when I say buy box, I'm talking about two things, right? I'm talking about location, and I'm talking about price, which could be size, right? Location and price. So location, the smaller the area that you want to buy in, the smaller your buy box. And then the price, right? So if you can only afford $500,000 and you live in Nashville, and you only want to buy something in Nashville, your buy box is really small, because there are no $500,000 properties in Nashville, right? Now, if your buy box is $10 million and you only want to be in Nashville, then your buy box is humongous, right? But these two characteristics are what going to determine your buy box. All right, and the bigger the buy box, the better. Okay, that's my 2 cents. All right, again, I want to remind you guys about my triad. Okay, Super Simple Self-Storage is the online course. You've got the Dill Analyzer. You've got the Wednesday training, where I just ramble on about some topic. And then you've got Super Simple Self-Storage, the Facebook group. This is the way that you're going to succeed right now. The Storage Nerds doors are closed. You can get on the wait list if you want to get in the coaching program. I'm not sure why I'm going to open it again. I just closed them. But for now, you have this available to you. You have a course that will take you step by step. You've got the Dill Analyzer, where you can just plug everything right in. You can hop on here and listen to me ramble about whatever. And then you have the Facebook group, where you can post all your questions, and I will be there to answer any questions that you have. Okay, that's how it works. And you can just go to stacyrossetti.com. Okay, that is where you find everything. Okay, all right, I saw a couple of questions, let me see here. And then I'm working on a wholesaling course, James, I'm working on that, but it's gonna take forever. You know, things just don't happen quickly, you know? We're working on it, I promise, okay? And if you know, in my mind, it's like, you know, it should be done next month, but that's not like the mind of the people that are actually managing the project. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you about that. Okay, Kevin said he made an offer last month. Good, congratulations. All right, so what happened to it? Now you got 29 more offers to go. All right, you could do it. I know you can. All right, Stacy, are you wholesaling your list of properties that you identified over the last 2 years? So we are like in the process of selling like the first 5 properties that we bought, and they're all like smaller facilities. The one that we pitched last week was the Warm Sweet Springs one, which is the smallest facility that we have. It's like 46 or like 50 units or something like this. Okay. And so that one we pitched. So just email me at questions@stacyrossetti.com if you want access to that. But I did get 2 offers that are kind of right where I want to be. And so, you know, I'll probably end up accepting one of those offers. Like definitely I'll be accepting an offer here pretty soon. Okay, because I just want to like, you know, start offloading. I will pitch another facility towards the end of this month. It is a bigger facility and it will be more expensive. It will be over 500,000. It'll be between 500,000 and $1 million. The Warm Springs one was under 500,000. Okay, and all the ones that I pitch on a weekly basis will get more and more expensive. That's how it is. And we'll get up to properties that are like, you know, we'll have at the end of property like maybe $1.5 million or something. Okay. All right. Also, the properties that I'm wholesaling are income producing properties. I bought them and I've already stabilized them. And so now if you're looking for like a little tiny bit of cash flow, maybe a little tiny bit of upside on the back end, that's what I got. All right. I'm not selling like severely mismanaged facilities or anything like that. We've done all the dirty work. Okay, I'm interested in submitting an offer from the pitch last week. So just email me at questions@stacyrossetti.com. Okay. When cold calling, how do you quickly qualify if the person on the other end is the owner or not? You just ask them. That's it. You just ask them, like, are you the owner of, you know, my storage place? Okay. Oh, you're not. Okay. Like, what's the best way to get a hold of them? Or is there a message that I can relate to them? Okay, so we've got some questions here. What's the success rate of students who join the program? Like 10%, 50. So we have 100 students in the program right now, and about 50 of them, I would say like between 40 and 50 of them own storage facilities. Okay, so that's the success rate. And I have a lot of students that own storage facilities are outside of the program as well too. We have a good amount of people that own storage facilities. Like, let's see what else. How many people actually, and then we have like people that have been in the coaching program for like for 3 years. I think I'm going into my 4th year right now, and they own like 4, 5, 6 facilities. Okay, there's a good handful of 1, 2, 3, up to 6. How many people actually make profits? How much time does it take to make profits? Okay, yeah. So like the way it works right now in the storage world is that like $1 million or less, you know, if you have to get a bank loan, it's very hard to like have this cash flow, right? Because the bank loans at, you know, 30% down and 8% interest, I mean, it really kind of takes up a lot of that mortgage takes up a lot of money. The expenses are going to be the same. I mean, once you learn about what your expenses are, it's kind of the same, really. You know, but like the mortgage is what's like kills the deal right now. So just depends on how your financing is how much money you're going to be making right now. So if you're like $1 million or less, your expenses are the same. $1 million to $2 million, you have a little bit more expenses, but they're going to be the same. 2 million to 3 million, it's kind of the same amount, right? It's kind of a formula. If you really think about it, it really is a formula how this works. Once you get into the deal analyzer and really kind of start understanding that, you will be able to, I will just look at a facility and like, just tell me one thing. How much money is it making? Or actually 2 things. Is it full or not full? But that really doesn't matter either. But like, you know, how much money is it making right now and how much money could it be making? And I can tell you what the valuations of those properties are. You know, so it's not rocket science. It's just training your brain to understand these formulas and these concepts. Okay, what profit does each storage unit actually earn? How much storage needs to be made? So, I mean, we run our numbers at 10% cash on cash return. It's a 7 cap, like we typically run at a 7 cap with 10% cash on cash return. So that's how we run our numbers. But everybody has their own parameters and stuff. Okay. Now remember, I teach people how to get into like $3 million or less properties. When you get into like $3 million or more, it's kind of a different like way of doing stuff. I mean, your cap rates change. You really have to kind of dig deeper into stuff. If you overanalyze a $300,000 deal, like you ain't ever gonna get a deal. That's for sure, right? But you want to overanalyze a $3 million. Okay. What are my liabilities and responsibilities with respect to owning a storage facility? You are a business owner. So you are going to, your job is how much money can I make on this property? What are all the different ways that I can create income streams for this property? That's the thing. And then you're saying, what are the expenses? How much money is it actually going to take me to manage this thing? What are my expenses going to be? And then obviously when you have a business, you increase your income and you decrease your expenses. Okay. And that creates the net operating income. That's what everybody's like, your NOI. What's your NOI? What's your NOI? And then like everybody's always asking, what's your NOI? Like my NOI is my NOI. Figure out your NOI. What are your expenses going to be? How are you going to manage this thing? I have one student, like, he's like, oh, I got 27% expenses. He answers the phone. He does all the work. He does the boots on the ground stuff. He goes out, cleans the units. He got a really low expense ratio. And then us, like, I haven't seen my facilities in years. So that means my operating income is higher than his. So you have to figure out what your parameters are. Make sense? Okay. Let's see what else. When cold calling. Oh yeah. So then after the NOI, right? So you have like, let me see. Right, you have income minus expenses, right? Is your NOI minus your mortgage. Right? Is your net. All right. So how much money can you make on this property? What are all the ways that you can come up with to make money on this property? How do I decrease my expenses? How much is it going to cost me to actually manage this property? Right. And then how am I going to finance this property? Where am I going to get the money to pay for this property? And how much is it going to cost me? Every person, every bank, every lender, every situation is completely different. So I can't tell you how much money you are going to make. You need to learn how to run deal analysis so that you can figure out how much money you're going to make. I can give you the tools. You can buy the deal analyzer, but I can't tell you your numbers. Okay. Now I can give you a thumbs up in the coaching program. That's what I do. Is they all run their numbers. They come visit me. I look at everything and I say, yeah, this looks good. Do it. Make the offer. Okay. Okay, hang on. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. What is the deal analyzer course? When does the deal analyzer course start? Okay, the deal analyzer you can buy at any time. Go to my website, buy it right now. Okay, and then the course comes with the deal analyzer. It shows you how to fill the deal analyzer. Okay, this stuff that I drew right here, you can go to my website and buy the online course, the deal analyzer. You can buy those right now. This is like the perfect match for you to get started. How much would it cost to build a storage facility with 25 storage facilities using 20 containers and cut in half? Okay, yeah, so I don't have any idea about that. So what you need to do is you need to figure out how much a storage container is going to cost, how much it's going to cost to cut the thing in half and to put the framing of the doors on it. How much is your land going to cost? How much is the cost of the mortgage going to be? How much is it going to cost for the clearing of the land so you can put the storage facility? How much does it cost to rezone the land if it's not zoned the proper way or whatever? So like, it's a process. Like I can look, I don't see any magic like future mall here in my room. I wish I had it so I could be like, it's going to cost you $5 million, but I just can't do that. You have to actually learn how to run billing analysis. All right, that's what you got to do. All right, okay, just one storage facility with 20 containers. Yeah, so I'm not sure, because if you go to like Janus, you could actually get like pre-built units, or you could go buy containers. There's a whole thing out there, you know, the whole, like, there's a world that you can get out there and just figure out what you want to do. Okay. All right. Okay. I appreciate you guys hanging in to the end, and I hope that I see you guys at the next session. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrossetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.